when we use letters, Hebrew letters that is, to represent numbers, Aleph is 1, Beis is 2, etc., Yud is 10, and then the letter He is 5. So 15 technically would have been Yud and then the letter He. But since this is God's name, we don't use this formation of those two letters to represent 15, but we use 9 and 6. So that is Tes and Vav, which comes to, when we pronounce it, we say Tu. This is where the word of Tu B'Shvat comes from, meaning the 15th day of the month of Shvat. And as we know, Tu B'Shvat is celebrated by eating fruits. In Israel, they have made a custom of planting trees. Some will say that this is the Jewish version of Earth Day, Arbor Day. But let's have a look at what the origin is really all about. The Gemara says, the Mishnah says, the 15th day of the month of Shvat is Rosh Hashanah le'ilanot, the New Year for the trees. So I guess, Happy New Year. We can wish each other a good, blessed year for the trees. But what really does that mean? Really, it has some serious halachic aspects and ramifications. Because basically what the 15th day of the month of Shvat serves to separate 1 year from the next year regarding laws of Meiser, as an example. Tithe of produce. We know they have to give a certain percentage, 10% for the Levites, and so on, different masros that we have to give. Or Orla, which means that a tree that was just planted, the first 3 years of this plant, of the fruits of this tree are forbidden to eat. And then on the 4th year, Netaravai, we are then supposed to bring it to Eretz Yisrael and eaten in Jerusalem in particular. Or if it's too heavy to schlep, we can redeem it for money, and the money to be spent on food bought in Jerusalem. For the same reason, this year is a Shemitah year, a sabbatical year. Now, when does the year for the tree start? The regular Rosh Hashanah? So that's why the Talmud tells us that the 15th day of the month of Shvat is the beginning of the new year. Whatever has grown or been planted before is previous year, after Tu B'Shvat is the new year. And that's where we start calculating from. Now, why particularly that date? It's not a random date. The reason for that is like this. Rashi explains that at this point, the ground has become saturated with the rains of the new year. We remember that on Sukkot, on the 15th day of the month of Tishrei, we prayed for rain, for the new rain. So by now, the earth, the ground, says Rashi, has become so saturated with the rains of the new year, and this is causing the sap to start rising in the trees, which means that the fruit can now begin to bud. The Jerusalemite Talmud says another explanation. It says until Tu B'Shvat, until the new year of the trees, all the trees can survive on the water from the previous year. After the new year, the trees derive their life source from the water of the new year. Now you can ask the question, here in Montreal for that matter, we have minus 23 today. There's no budding, there are no trees growing, there is no flowers. On the trees, all you see is snow and ice. You don't even see a bird. In fact, yesterday, for those who put out grains kasha for the birds, there was no birds that came to pick it up. So why is that? But as we know that we always go according to Eretz Yisrael. We say the same Talamot Livrach on Sukkot because in Israel that's the rainy season. So we follow the agricultural laws and all matters related to agriculture as it is in Eretz Yisrael. But here is a very interesting thing. The Meiri gives a beautiful idea. It says like this. The winter season basically extends from the month of Teves until the month of Nisan. So the 15th day of the month of Shvat is exactly the midpoint between fall and spring. So once half the winter has passed, its strength is weakened, the cold is not as intense, and I certainly hope so, and the budding process begins. So this is just another reminder how when it's really, really cold, when it's really, really dark, there is light at the end of the tunnel. We passed the midpoint, and now we're going towards the tunnel. So Eibishter, maybe this is a good time now that we're already way past the midpoint of Galus, we're at the end of Galus, time to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and let us all go to Eretz Yisrael. I would love to see the trees budding today in Eretz Yisrael. See you in Yerushalayim now.